Hello and welcome to the I Get It Tech Class Ask Me Anything session. Couple of topics today. One, I wanted to address cloud computing because I had a situation that came up, and I wanted to talk a little bit about not using the computer. So first off, cloud computing. There is a conversation, there's a post in the community from last week about what cloud computing is. In a nutshell, if you've heard of or used Microsoft OneDrive, Google Drive, or Dropbox, those are the biggest ones. Oh, no, Apple. I don't use Apple, so I don't remember what it's called. iCloud, I think, the four biggest ones. Those are cloud services. That's what that's for. I don't know if you heard that. It's cat feeding time. We need to change that from 6 o'clock, I think, maybe to 5 to 6. Those services are, when people refer to the cloud, they're talking about those services in general. There are lots of other services too, but if you're just a normal, regular computer user, that's what a lot of times people are talking about as far as the cloud. And that just means space on the internet where your files are. So before I drill down on that, I will explain that a little bit more with a nice graphic. I had a situation where a user, she had a laptop and she was going to a new laptop and she wanted to move her files from the old laptop to the new laptop. But she was a little impatient and gave her old laptop to her son. And when he got the laptop, he added what's called a profile. He changed the way you can log into the computer so he could have his own login for the computer. She went back to him to say, hey, I need to get my files off this computer first. And when she looked on the computer, she could not find her files. Her files were just gone, just disappeared. And she was freaked out, frantic. Her files were on the computer in a way. They weren't on the computer, they were backed up automatically into the cloud, and she didn't know it. We just had to use her log on so we could access her files instead of her son's log on. Because when her son logged on, the computer it separated itself. He has his own profile, and so he can make the computer windows look the way that he wants, and he has his own space for his files. So that got messy. So the cloud in this case was a good thing. It wasn't because she didn't know that and because Microsoft just took over, but it was good because it did back up her files. Let me show you something. Let's look at cloud computing in a little detail, just for a second. I'm going to share something on the screen. Your computer stores your files, the things you create in Word, the videos that you might download from the internet, um, uh, uh, the PowerPoint presentation that you created, or the pictures that you're editing. All that stuff is stored on your computer. So think of your computer, let's say, as a house, and you've got different rooms in the house, and you've got different folders and things on the computer. But all the rooms are in that one house. All your files are on that one computer. Well, the cloud is not on your computer. You're connected to it through an internet connection. So if you can get online, you can get to spaces in the cloud. And the cloud consists of lots and lots of computers. You've got Apple's iCloud, their own computers, and Google Drives, they've got their own computers. And Microsoft OneDrive is using a different set of computers, but they're all connected to the internet. And if you are connected to the internet, you can get to those computers. That's the cloud. And on those computers is lots and lots of space. These computers are huge, servers. and they're huge, and they're able to store data for millions of people. So if your computer is a house, cloud storage is a storage facility. If you've ever rented, storage space, storage building is a big building. It can store lots and lots of things, but the whole building is parceled out, is sectioned off into little bitty individual rooms that just one person has access to, ideally one or two, but we'll say one person has access to, and they have a key to that. When you use cloud computing, when you store something on iDrive, Google Drive, OneDrive, you have access to just your little storage unit in the whole big cloud. Now, I say that to say this. I want to kind of give you an understanding of what's happening, because the cloud doesn't operate in a vacuum. Sometimes you choose to have access to cloud computing, sometimes you don't. Oh, I'm sorry, specifically with Microsoft, you don't. I'm going to close this. If you use Microsoft, and most of us probably do, Microsoft's cloud is OneDrive. Microsoft kind of sucks because they force you to use OneDrive. They've set it up automatically on your computer. When you save files on your computer, if you have not changed the configuration, and let me take it back. If you don't have an IT person or an IT department who's installed your computer and managing it, if it's a computer that you bought online or from one of the few computer stores that exist, your computer by default is set up so all your files are saved on OneDrive. It doesn't look like it. Microsoft kind of masks it. So it looks like you're saving files in My Documents. Let's say, for example, you're saving files in your My Documents folder on your computer. If you look at it in the address line, it's actually OneDrive. You know what? Let's see. Can we see that real quick? I took mine off of this one. I always take mine off because I like to have the choice. I don't like it when somebody tells me we're going to keep your files in a public storage unit. Oh, it's your unit is locked, but we're still going to store your files in a public storage facility when I think that they're in my house. The good part of it is, and one of the reasons why Microsoft is doing it is because it provides you an automatic backup without you having to do anything or without having to explain it to you, without any particular procedures. In that case where I was able to help that woman bring her files back, her files never gone because they were already always in the cloud. On the other hand, I know there's a level of distrust, and there should be, with anything that's A, public, and B, free. There are some things that you might not want stored in the cloud. These spaces are hackable. Do they want your stuff? Who knows? Probably not. Are hackers looking for certain things? Can they, let's say, program to look for certain things like, let's say, credit card numbers or naked pictures, which has actually happened? Yeah, it can. You should have the choice. So I did want to bring that up with Microsoft because I hate that they do that. You should have the choice. And if you chose not to use public storage, if you chose not to use cloud storage, and you only want things on your private computer, then that's your choice, and you should have that. If you say, hey, I do want an automatic backup, just go ahead and do it, that's your choice. But not this, when you think of this taking over, this authoritarian taking over and telling you what's good for you kind of thing. I don't like it. Google Drive does not do that. iCloud, not sure. You should check if you have an Apple. I think it does. But these other places, you have a choice. So I just wanted to bring that up. That's an issue with cloud computing that I think is people don't understand and should. Where your information is, because it's your information. You should understand where your information is. Do you need to understand how an application works necessarily? No. Or uh, how downloading works? I mean, it's good to understand, but do you need to necessarily understand it? No. But when it comes to your stuff, and your data is your data is your belonging. It's your possession. It's stuff that you've, especially when it's stuff that you've created, that you wouldn't want an opportunity for somebody else to copy or to take. You should know where your possessions are actually being held. So, second thing I wanted to talk about, not using the computer. It's okay. Everything doesn't have to be on the computer. I am an avid gardener. I been working with a urban gardening group for years. I've been working with community gardens and my own garden. Let's see here. You can see I got some of my starters going up here. That's one of my grow lights that I've got going. I was talking to somebody, one of the gardeners in the gardening group, and they know that I am heavy into computing, into computers and supporting computers and working with applications. And he was showing me some program that he was going to buy specifically, not even using a spreadsheet, but just buying a program, a gardening program, where he could track and put in what he's planted and uh, what the earliest plant date is and when the harvesting dates should be and et cetera, et cetera. And he asked, hey, what am I using? What are you using? And I said, I'm using this. I love using a book. I love the feel of it. I love just being able to take it around. I love that if it gets dirty, I don't mind too much. And I don't like the program that he's used, and I've looked at a couple of others, and I've had my own spreadsheets some years, and it's just been more trouble than it's worth. There are some areas that just don't need to be on the computer. If it works for you, do it. If you want to keep your album collection on a spreadsheet and enter in all that information, great. If you don't feel bad. You can be organized without being on the computer. I feel like from some conversations that I've had, especially when we're talking about organizing things, that using the computer is an awesome tool, and they're great tools to use on the computer, like spreadsheets, like databases. Somebody's pinging me. Like programs and apps that are written specifically for tracking. But if it doesn't feel right, if it's more trouble than it's worth, then you can still stay organized, in real life. And there's another thing with learning. When I've seen lots of I've seen training and videos about behavioral learning and how people learn. One of the ways people really tend to learn is with tactile sensation. When for instance, there's a philosophy called morning pages. So in the morning, to set aside some time, 15, 20 minutes, and just write whatever comes to your brain. Not quite journaling, but it's kind of a dump, and it helps the creativity flow. They've shown that people get more out of it when they actually use pen and paper than typing. There are more, I don't know if I can explain it well, more synapses firing because you are using, I guess, more of your muscles, more connections between your hands and writing, which I know you're using more fingers on the keyboard, but writing is still, it's a finer motor skill. I guess where they've shown that people tend to be more creative. They tend to get more out of it. They tend to write more using pen and paper. I heard that with note taking also, that using pen and paper, it just stimulates the brain differently. So there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, there are benefits to it. While I am all about the computers all day long, I hands-on manual processes, when they work, where they work, should be embraced also. So that's my 2 cents on 2 topics for today. I will see you next week. Happy computing.